Welcome back to Apex Sci-Fi. In the late 23rd century, humanity realized that we were running out of horizontal space. So we built upward. The crown jewel of this architectural revolution was the Neo-Tokyo arcology. It is a vertical marvel, a single self-contained spire reaching 6,000 feet into the sky, housing 20 million souls. It has its own weather system, its own forests, its own internal economy and its own laws. It was designed to be a paradise, a testament to human unity and engineering. It was never designed to be a battlefield. The Skrull swarm didn't care about our architecture. The Skrull are an avian-insectoid hybrid species that evolved in the high-gravity mountain ranges of a gas giant's moon. They are built for verticality. They have hollow, lightweight bones for clawed limbs that can grip any surface, and wings that allow for short bursts of gliding. When their splinter fleet bypassed the Pacific Shield grid and landed thousands of troop carriers on the upper observation decks of the arcology, they thought they had found the perfect terrain. The ground dwellers will be trapped, the Skrull Hive commander chirped through the shared neural link. We will descend like the wind, harvesting the soft mammals floor by floor. Their towers will become our nesting grounds. The Skrull began their descent at level 1000, the summit. They moved with terrifying speed, shattering the reinforced quartz windows and flooding the luxury penthouses. The civilian security drones were shredded in seconds. It was supposed to be a slaughter. But they forgot one thing: humans don't like uninvited guests. Corporal Kenji Sato of the Metropolitan Defense Force, MDF, wasn't a soldier of the void or a desert tanker. He was an urban predator. He had grown up on level 450, playing in the maintenance ducts and racing hover scooters through the commercial plazas. He knew the arcology not as a map, but as a living organism. "Control, this is Sato," Kenji whispered into his throat mic, hugging the shadows of a shattered sushi bar on level 920. "The birds are in the rafters. They're using the ventilation shafts to bypass the blast doors. Send the 5th Urban Shock units to the elevator junctions. We're going to turn the vertical transit into a meat grinder." The MDF wasn't just a police force. They were trained in 360-degree combat. In an arcology, the enemy isn't just in front of you, they are above you, below you, and behind the wall to your left. Kenji checked his weapon, AC-90 Stinger submachine gun. It was short, high-cyclic, and fired frangible rounds designed to dump all their kinetic energy into a target without punching through the arcology's pressurized outer hull. In a building this big, a stray bullet through a window could mean explosive decompression for 10,000 people. "Contact!" Miller, Kenji's spotter, hissed. Above them, clinging to the ceiling like gargoyles, 3 Skrull warriors shifted their iridescent wings. Their eyes, multifaceted orbs of sickly yellow, locked onto the humans. They screeched, a sound like grinding glass, and dropped. Kenji didn't aim with a scope, he aimed with instinct. He rolled backward as a Skrull's claw shattered the marble countertop where he'd been hiding. In mid-roll he squeezed the trigger. Zip 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 zip. The Stinger barked, the muzzle flash illuminating the darkened restaurant. The frangible rounds hit the Skrull's hollow-boned chest, expanding instantly. The alien didn't just die, it disintegrated internally, its light blue blood splashing against the neon signs. "Don't stay on the floor," Kenji yelled. "Use the mag lines." He slapped a magnetic tether to his belt and fired a grapple at the ceiling. He was pulled upward, soaring through the multi-story atrium of the mall tier. The Skrull were gliders, but humans were gravity takers. The battle for the residential tiers, levels 800 to 600, was where the war became personal. The Skrull were trying to harvest civilians, but the people of Tokyo didn't just cower. They fought back with kitchen knives, with heavy furniture, and with homemade flashbang chemicals. Kenji saw a Skrull trying to pry open a reinforced nursery door on level 712. He didn't fire his gun, there were too many kids behind that door. Instead, he detached his mag tether and performed a dead drop from 20 feet above. He slammed his armored boots into the Skrull's back, the sheer weight of a 200-pound human in tactical gear snapping the alien's spine. "Get inside. Seal the vents." Kenji roared at the terrified parents before diving back into the atrium. The Skrull Hive commander was growing frustrated. The soft mammals weren't behaving like prey. Every time the Skrull took a floor, the humans would blow the support struts of the stairs, forcing the aliens to use the elevator shafts, where the MDF had placed automated sentry guns and claymore mines. "They are fighting for every centimeter," the commander reported. "They use their own homes as traps. We are losing wings by the thousands." The turning point came at the industrial hub on level 500. This was the arcology's heart, the water filtration plants, the oxygen scrubbers, and the main power junctions. If the Skrull took this, 20 million people would suffocate or dehydrate within the week. The Skrull massed their entire remaining force for a great dive. Thousands of them leaped from the upper balconies, wings spread, creating a terrifying shadow that drifted down the central core of the building. Kenji was waiting at the level 500 promenade. He wasn't alone. 500 MDF soldiers were lined up along the railings, their heavy rail rifles pointed straight up. "Wait for it," Kenji muttered, watching the cloud of aliens descending. "Wait for the thermal pocket." In an arcology, the massive internal space creates its own updrafts. The heat from the lower levels rises through the central core. "Now, activate the firewall." The MDF didn't fire their guns. They tapped into the building's emergency fire suppression system. But they didn't spray foam. They reversed the intake valves on the level 500 industrial furnaces. A localized blast of superheated air and plasma venting shot upward through the central core. It wasn't a weapon, it was an industrial accident on demand. The Skrull, being light and hollow-boned, were caught in the massive thermal updraft. Their wings, designed for gliding, became their funeral shrouds. They were sucked upward into the firewall, cooked instantly by the 5,000-degree venting gas. Thousands of Skrull fell like burning leaves, their charred bodies hitting the level 500 plaza. The survivors who managed to land were met by Kenji and his squad. The fight was a blur of bayonets, short-range bursts, and the heavy thud of human boots. The humans had the home field grit. They weren't just fighting for a sector, they were fighting for the couch they sat on, the kitchen where they ate, and the children sleeping 10 floors below. Kenji found himself face to face with a Skrull elite, a monster with a 10-foot wingspan and a jagged energy scythe. The alien swung, the blade slicing through Kenji's shoulder plate. Kenji didn't retreat. He stepped into the strike, grabbing the alien's spindly neck with one hand and jamming his stinger's barrel into its gut with the other. "Welcome to Tokyo," Kenji hissed. He emptied the magazine. By the time the sun rose over the Pacific, the battle for the arcology was over. The Skrull splinter fleet was a smoking ruin. Of the thousands who landed, only a few hundred escaped back to their carriers, and the Terran Navy was waiting for them in orbit. The Galactic Council later reviewed the footage. They were horrified by the vertical brutality of the humans. They saw how we turned a beautiful city into a vertical deathtrap, how we used our own infrastructure as a weapon, and how our civilians fought with a savagery that ignored the proper rules of engagement. Kenji Sato sat on the edge of a shattered level 500 balcony, his legs dangling over the mile-high drop. He was drinking a lukewarm canned coffee, watching the repair drones begin to weld new glass into the summit. "They thought because we live in boxes we're easy to cage," Miller said, sitting next to him. Kenji looked at his scarred hands. "They forgot that a box is just a bunker with better lighting. You don't invade a man's house and expect him to play fair." Humanity had proven the ultimate urban HFY truth. You can take our streets. You can take our skies. But if you come into our homes, you aren't an occupier. You're just another piece of trash that needs to be taken out. This has been Apex Sci-Fi. Our skyscrapers aren't just for show, they're for the high ground. If you enjoyed this vertical victory for humanity, hit that like button. Comment below. Would you feel safe living in a mile-high arcology? Subscribe for the next front of the Iron Vanguard, the Bioslayer. The elevators are running. The city is standing.